Hello again, Honky Tonks. First of all, my channel's just hit 80 odd thousand subscribers with over 30 million views. For that, I'm eternally grateful. What that tells me is there are many people out there, thousands of you, whom I resonate with. My views are compatible with yours and you think the same. I'm very grateful, honestly. I mean, my God, I have double the number of subs which I had on my previous channel, which I had to kill off thanks to the Wokey Cokies. And so I have grown in strength. I am now more powerful than ever. But seriously, thank you. I do appreciate it. So, and it seems you guys like my walkie-talkies as well. So long may they continue. That's what I say. Anyway, Dan Wootton. Dan Wootton has been under police investigation since last year. And this is all to do with an apparent jealous ex who spread lies about him, malicious lies, and tried to bring him down. And this was in conjunction with some lefty independent media outlet as well. I think it was the Byline Times who printed lies about him. So he sued The Guardian and other journalists who printed this stuff about him because it was all lies, apparently, but we don't really know, do we? We don't really know. The police obviously couldn't charge him because they couldn't find anything. And apparently this Dan Wootton is a very slippery fella, but still, you know, he's been cleared, he's not being charged, and now he's going at it alone. Now, whether he was sacked by GB News or they let him go, we don't know. He says he left in a Twitter post, and in other places they say he was axed. But regardless of what happened, he's not at GB News, and I think he's about to bring them down. Now, GB News are in a precarious place anyway because of finances. They've made heavy losses, something like £42 million in losses last year alone. They're always stuck in controversy, and their presenters are constantly investigated by Ofcom. So the future doesn't look good. I think they'll end up like Talk TV. Like I said in last night's video, or this morning's video, Talk TV is completely coming off the telly and streaming instead because of losses and the fact that they tried so hard to be establishment after drawing us in and using us as viewers to get the views, get the clicks, and establish themselves. And it didn't work because the mask slipped off, and it's the same with GB News. Now, if anyone knew what was going on at GB News, it was Dan Wootton. I think all we've had so far are little tidbits of information from Lawrence Fox and Calvin Robinson. They weren't really a big part of GB News. They were just people who were given slots. Lawrence Fox had his little show, Calvin Robinson the same, and as soon as they were let go, and especially the way Calvin Robinson was treated, they spilled the beans, didn't they? But that was only what they knew. I reckon Dan Wootton knows a whole lot more, because he was part of it, wasn't he? Dan Wootton, he was a big name in GB News. And so he's going to start off on his own. It's going to be Dan Wootton outspoken, a bit like Piers Morgan Uncensored. And I think he's going to reveal everything that goes on, and it'll finish GB News. GB News will either give up, come off air altogether, or just end up streaming like Talk Radio, and nobody's watching them anyway. And there's a little fact for you, all right? I'm a nobody. I'm just a little YouTuber. Not many people know me, apart from my subs, and that's it. I am completely unknown. And yet, I remember making a live stream, I think it was last year, year before, and I did it at exactly the same time as James Whale. And twice as many people were watching me than James Whale. What does that tell you? I found this out by making research the other day. I was just interested. More people watch Simon Sideways. He gets over 1,000 people watching him now, every live stream, because they trust him more. People trust independent creators and YouTubers more than they do the mainstream media, and that should tell you absolutely everything, folks. Everything. And now they're going to be joining our ranks here in YouTube, and I think they'll be pushing us out because they failed to convince the people on telly, and then YouTube will push their content more aggressively than they do ours. Even though we make money for them, whether you're monetized or not, you still make money for YouTube. I think that's a travesty. It really is. Now, all we know about GB News is what's come from Calvin Robinson and Lawrence Fox, and what they said was that GB News, behind the cameras, it's a hotbed of lefties. These are journalists who used to work at the mainstream media outlets, BBC, Channel 4, Sly News, or they're using GB News as a platform to go back to those jobs or start out there. And so they're spreading their poison. Their poison has been spread, practiced at GB News, and that's why the mask slipped off sooner than it should have, I reckon. I think the mask was intentionally meant to slip off, but not so soon, even at talk radio. And then the establishment is revealed. But now we know that they're both establishments, folks. We really do. They're all establishments. They're out to con us, and they have. But they failed, so they're now streaming, or they both will be streaming soon, by the looks of things. And Dan Wootton will be the catalyst for what destroys GB News altogether. I reckon he's going to name names, give dates, tell the stories, and it'll shock us. Well, to a degree. We can imagine what goes on there. Both channels refused to have Tommy Robinson on as a guest. They wouldn't even debate him. There were other people as well they refused to have on, which should tell you everything. GB News, the so-called home of free speech there, and yet there are guests they wouldn't have on, and yet they had an imam on who completely lied about us, about what happened at the cenotaph on Remembrance Weekend. He was allowed to lie about things that half of the supporters were arrested, more petrol bombs were allegedly thrown than anywhere else. And he went on unchallenged. Jacob Rees-Mogg sat there and didn't challenge him, just sat there nodding. Good Lord. I would have loved it if Jacob Rees-Mogg, or a real journalist worth their salt, challenged this imam. Why didn't GB News show footage? I've got footage, I was there. Reverend Simon Sideways was there. Russ was there, absolutely average. We were all there. We were good as gold, apart from a small rowdy crowd. And that's it. There were no petrol bombs thrown. Half of us weren't arrested. It's a complete lie, and GB News allowed this lie to be said unchallenged. And that's what gets me. Dig deeper, folks. Look at what's happening. Watch these presenters. See how they react, and how robustly and vigorously and aggressively they challenge their guests, especially their lefty guests. And make your minds up. That should tell you absolutely everything. GB News and Talk Radio may have worn their establishment masks, but the signs were all there as far as I'm concerned. And I'm glad that thousands of you saw that as well. And it's not just me, I'm not going nuts. And there we go, that's my walkie-talkie. Woo, thanks for walking with me. It's been nice weather today. I've had a great weekend and all. What day is it today? Wednesday. Yeah, it's been a good couple of days for me. It's been really nice for a change. I don't usually like saying stuff like that because I jinx myself. You watch something happen to me now. Jinx. Right, I'm off. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for walking with me. I'm Paz49, and until the next time, Roger Trout.